Bonjour à tous. Alors aujourd'hui on se retrouve pour une vidéo un peu spéciale parce que cette vidéo c'est pas moi qui l'ai enregistrée, c'est Sushikat Gamer. Et donc il y a une raison pour ça, c'est que cette vidéo traite de la décoration et je suis un peu une quiche en déco. Donc je lui ai demandé de le faire à ma place. Elle vous expliquera bien mieux que moi. La vidéo est en anglais, donc il y aura des sous-titres en français que j'aurai incrustés dans la vidéo. Pour tous ceux qui parlent anglais et qui n'ont pas envie de voir les sous-titres, dans la description, vous trouverez entre autres un lien vers sa vidéo originale sur sa chaîne. Donc n'hésitez pas à aller la voir là-bas. Elle mérite bien plus les vues que moi là sur le coup. Et pour ceux qui restent ici, je vous laisse avec Sushikat.
Bonjour, je m'appelle Sushikat, comment allez-vous? Je suis désolée, mais comme je ne parle pas très bien le français, alors cette vidéo sera en anglais. Le charpentier m'a demandé de vous montrer des astuces sur le placement des petits objets, ainsi connu comme junk decorating, et je le remercie pour ça. Il y aura des sous-titres français. J'espère que vous aimerez ma vidéo. Merci à tous. Hello everyone, I'm Sushikat and today I'm going to be doing a tutorial for Charpentier Post-apo in regards to junk decorating and some basic tips on how to make your settlements look more lived in and different. So over here I have some items to help me show the basic techniques of junk decorating and also some of the things that can make certain tips a little more difficult. I've also got basically everything that I own in this crate with the exception of base building materials like steel or wood. I'll just grab some junk to work with and we'll get on with the tips. So, first things first, I'll have to show you how to place items manually. Firstly, highlight the item and then press and hold your activate key. For me, it's A, PS4 it's X, and PC would be E. This will let you pick up the item, and you can rotate these items with your trigger buttons. This will rotate on one of the three axes. Sometimes you'll want to change the axes because it doesn't always sit the way you want. You can press your left stick and this will let you rotate the objects in different ways so you can place them exactly how you want them. The next thing to show you is how to place objects using the build menu. Firstly, open your build menu and then select the item. As you can see, it jumps straight into the upright position. You can only rotate objects on this axis while in the build menu. Clicking the left stick does not change anything. The advantage of using the build menu to place items is this righting of the axis, so you can place things upright quickly and easily. The other advantage is that you don't knock other items when placing them, so when decorating things like tables or shelves, they stay where you want them unless they are knocked after you've finished decorating. You can get a lot of items pretty close together in the build menu, however items like bottles, especially the Coca-Cola bottles, have quite a wide collision box, and so will be placed further away. The last major advantage of using the build menu to place items is that once placed they stay static on the items you've placed them on until they are knocked, at which point they'll fall through the item they're placed on if you try to move it. Now we'll move on to something a little bit different. When using these Dino Tables from the Vault-Tec workshop, there can be some issues when junk decorating in the build menu. You can place items on it manually and they'll stay there fine. However, if you try to place it using the build menu, the item falls straight through the table. This is because they count as chairs and so the table has no collision, otherwise settlers won't be able to sit in them. There is a fix though, and it requires you to use your pillar glitch and a rug. The welcome mats would work best because they won't be as visible, but I'm going to use this one so it's more easily visible. Glitch the rug into the table, and once you're happy with its placement, you can use the build menu to place the items you want without it sinking through. To move this item after putting the rug in it, you will have to mass select it by holding your activation key. As you can see here, the item will place where you have the rug glitched into the table, but not near the back where the rug is not. The final tip I have for you today is a way to use the build menu to decorate shelving and how to get items on whatever shelf you want to. Now normally items want to only go on one shelf, either the top one or the one just below it, like on this shelf. However, when junk decorating, we often want to decorate every shelf. This is where your pillar comes into play again. I want to place an item on the bottom shelf here, so I raise the shelves up so the shelf that I want to decorate is in line with where the shelf that wanted to be decorated was in the first place. Once this is done, move your pillar out of the way and select the item you want to place. It should slide right onto the shelf you wanted if you have the shelf placement right. I had mine too low, so I just raised it up a little bit more. Be careful when moving the shelf because it is possible to glitch items into the shelf and this will cause it to fall through. However, this can be a really fast and easy way to decorate shelving in the game without having to place everything manually. So now it's time to put all of these techniques together. First thing you should do when decorating something is to look at what you've built, think about what practical items you want to characterize the build and who's the most likely person to be using the area. For this location at Sanctuary, the most likely people that would use the workshop would be Sturges and the Sole Survivor. So I always work with the hardest items to decorate first, so when using the pillar to help me decorate, those are the items that I decorate first, and I work from the top to the bottom so I can sink the item if I need to without worrying about losing items under the ground. My advice would be to always work from top to bottom. So the lockers, which were originally from Eleonora's decoration pack in the Creation Club, were located between my armor workbench and the chem station. While you might be tempted to decorate it to show off both those workstations, it's actually better to focus on one thing and use other containers for other workstations. For this, I've decided to make the lockers a part of the armor workbench because I don't have any containers besides the lockers. This means that I'll be focusing on items that you could or will use to upgrade armors, so paints, cloth, leather, string, things like this all work with the armor workbench. I've also added some Abraxel because you want to clean the workbench down or use Abraxel to soften the leather to make it easier to work with or from. Once I was done with the top couple shelves, I decided that adding in some armor mods to add some variety to the decoration, and to better show what the containers were being used for. Anyone viewing my builds can see very quickly and easily what all of my decoration is, and what it's being used for. This is also a good idea to give your builds a bit of purpose. It's also a good idea to not be too set in what your decoration should look like before you start. Be sure of it at the end, not the beginning. You know that there's going to be certain items that would make sense for certain rooms, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't be flexible. Add some items that doesn't necessarily fit to give your builds a little bit more personality and allow yourself to shine through with whatever you're doing. Always be flexible when it comes to decoration. Be happy to change your ideas or to add new things in when something doesn't look quite the way you want it to. Remember, for things like the Commonwealth, close enough is good enough. Unless you're creating a very neat and orderly character, either an NPC or the sole survivor, then most people will just put things where they fit in roughly the right places. Very few to nobody is going to line everything up nice and evenly. So close enough is good enough. Once you've decorated something with the build menu and you're happy with where most things are placed, don't be scared to come out of the menu and fix anything that annoys you or didn't go quite where you wanted when placing it in the build tool. Remember that close enough is good enough. Have it almost as a mantra, so if you do knock something else, it doesn't matter that much, and things will look more natural if they're not always perfectly placed. Also, there will be times when you want an item placed in a different position to what the build menu gives you, or an item won't place in a smaller area because of the bounding box. In these cases, don't be scared of placing things by hand after you've done the bulk of your decoration, as this will also give you some more variety in your builds, and very often the bounding boxes match the visual size of the items when they're placed by hand rather than in the build menu. Learning how to place things both in the build menu and by hand will greatly enhance your builds and will allow you to do a lot more than just using one or the other. Once you've finished with an area, take a step back and look at it to see if there's anything you'd want to change with the decoration. This will give you a better idea of what you've done and what you've still got to do, and will keep you focused on the job at hand. It's better to finish the bulk of your decoration for one area before moving on to the next, because you'll get more things done in a faster time, and you'll feel a lot less pressured thinking about one room than you would if you were thinking about the whole building. This is also good practice for more detailed single rooms as well. Like this work area that I'm decorating right now. Focusing on one part of it means that I'm not thinking about how much I've still got to decorate, and instead it focuses my mind on the bit that I am working on, so I can get that to something that I'm happy with before moving on to the next bit. I always stop after every container or two to see what I've done and to see how it fits with everything else, or if I need to change something to help it flow better. This is especially important if you've taken a break from decorating for a while and then you come back to it. Always take a look at what you've done before doing anything else to see if you're still happy with it or if you want to change things before moving on to the next thing. Going back to being willing to change what you've done, here I found that I couldn't place items on top of the workbench in the build menu. So instead I chose to add a container so that I would have a bounding box to set items on. This also meant that I had to think about what rugs I would use to put the workbench back into place. The Vault-Tec rugs work great in a workshop setting, but if you don't have the Vault-Tec DLC, then the small rectangular brown ones are very subtle and can easily be missed on a wooden floor, so they make a very good alternative. In hard to reach places, particularly low ones like the small gap I've got at the bottom of the container here, it's usually best to place the item in the approximate area and then move back away from the item to pick it up again. This will give you more range to move and you'll find placing items much easier. Also, try to pick up the item from as near the middle as you can get. This will cause it to jump towards you a lot less. Another thing to consider when decorating is the lighting. It is much easier to see what you're doing while decorating when you've got good lighting. Personally, I find the best time to decorate is during the day, so unless you are working on putting in lights, nighttime is the best time to do this. Try to do all of your decorations during the day. As you move around the build with your decorations, you will find that more ideas of what would look best where will jump out at you. You will also be able to decorate larger groups of items at once because you'll be able to see what the final finished result will look like more and more in your head. Putting down larger items will further help this because you'll be able to see what kinds of space you've got to work with. You will also find it easier if you are regularly looking around what you've already done to find small empty spaces that you think should have something in it, and to identify things that would fit in those spaces as you are looking at the items you've got to work with in your decorations container. Sometimes you'll have items that seem to glitch and you can't move them as you're trying to place them manually. When this happens, just let the item go and pick them up again. This will allow you to place the items where you want, or if they are where you want, it will stop them from vibrating. This happens when the bounding box of the item you're trying to place collides and tries to glitch into another static item's bounding box. Another issue you might find is that certain items won't allow you to place other items on top of them, like the large box on top of the armor workbench. Unfortunately, there's nothing I found as a workaround for this, and as such you will have to work around these items rather than place things on top of them. There are also some items that have been marked as too heavy to lift, like the bags of fertilizer. These items can only be placed in the build menu and will often have a larger bounding box than is visually represented. These items are best placed before the smaller items that you can place by hand, so you don't end up using all of your space and then not be able to put them down where you want them. Final tips for decorating. Separate the items you like to decorate with into their own container, particularly unique or rare items that's hard to come by. This will give you a ready stash of things to work with that you won't have to pull out of your workbench. Use a variety of items, adding in weapons, clothing or armor where you feel it would make sense. Don't just stick to items that would normally be in an area. Add some personality to your decoration. Don't drop lots of items all at once. Seeing lots of items to decorate with can often be overwhelming. It's better to drop only a couple of items, 2 or 3 at a time, unless you are absolutely sure where some of the items will be going. Nothing has to be perfectly placed. In fact, in many cases, placing something down off-center will look better than having everything perfectly lined up. try to keep focused on what you're decorating instead of jumping around the build. You will have a better overall look and it will not be as overwhelming if you focus on one thing at a time. And finally, work with and around the game's limitations and don't get frustrated when something doesn't go exactly where you want. Sometimes it's better to change your mind than it is to spend an hour arguing with something that just won't go. If you want more ideas for building or decorating your builds, there's some absolutely amazing builders out there. Several that I would greatly recommend would be Phoenix Embrace, who has a very whimsical style of builds and absolutely amazing decoration skills. She's the person that I've taken most of my decoration inspiration from. Morpheu GI, who's a vanilla builder that has a lot of great ideas. He's among the best builders I've found. Local 4-Pack, who's another vanilla builder that focuses a little more on military style builds, and he's got some fantastic ideas and is well worth a look. Sardeliac, he builds a lot of very lore-friendly and reasonably easy to build settlements that's got a lot of new ideas. On a Whim 7737, a Fallout 4 streamer that prides herself on having a lot of chat interactions and say in what she does. She's also got some very good builds and is willing to help out anyone that asks. Nacho Bidness, he's got some really awesome ideas for settlements. A lot of them are roleplay based and he's got some amazing tutorials, especially around electronics. And last but not least, Draco Invictus. He does a lot of modded builds that are very expansive. He's also willing to help out those that ask, and he's got some great ideas for larger builds. Everyone that I've mentioned will be linked down in the description, so go and check them all out. Okay, well, I'm going to leave you now with the final decoration tour. I have been Sushikat, and I hope you've all had a fantastic day or night. Bye!
Eh bien, merci Sushikat. J'ai appris vraiment beaucoup de choses. En fait, c'est pas pour la politesse, c'est vrai. Genre comment mettre les objets avec le menu sur une étagère. Et puis 2-3 petites techniques, comme toujours commencer de haut en bas, par les objets les plus difficiles et les plus gros à placer en premier. Ce genre de petits trucs auxquels je pense pas. Donc c'est pour ça que c'est elle qui a fait la vidéo. Et au passage, j'approuve... Oh tiens, des bramines qui apparaissent. Au passage, j'approuve complètement tous les autres youtubeurs qu'elle vous a mentionnés. Pareil, hein, comme elle le dit, vous trouverez un lien dans la description. Je rajouterai juste que pour les streams de Onawim 7737, c'est du lundi au vendredi. Ça commence à 21h et ça se termine à 1h du matin. Vous pouvez passer faire un bonjour, j'y suis assez fréquemment. Sur mon autre compte par contre, celui de ma chaîne anglaise. Mais ouais, passez y faire un petit coucou. Sur ce, j'espère que vous avez apprécié cette vidéo. Moi j'ai adoré. Et je vous dis à bientôt. Bye.